Well, hello and welcome to the Church Office Podcast. My name is Gavin Smith and it's a joy to welcome you today. We are a church administration podcast. We love talking about all the work that happens behind the scenes in ministry. And my special guest today is Joel Morris from Union. Welcome, mate.
Thanks, Gav. Good to be here.
It's great to have you. Thanks for taking time out of your day to serve us, mate, on the podcast.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Looking forward to it. Joel's executive director at Union, so he's involved in practical world of ministry behind the scenes. But, mate, Union is such a big beast now, and it's serving in so many different areas. So I'm really keen to kind of get you on the podcast and connect with our listeners on what you're doing and the work of Union. So, mate, first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and family, church.
All right. Yeah, myself. Okay, well, I am an engineer in my background. So I studied a lot of engineering. Started off in materials engineering, did it at Swansea, and then I went on to do a master's in aerospace and power generation, and discovered I really liked doing higher level study. Kind of felt like I was my own boss with a project and I could manage. So I really enjoyed that, being creative. Love being creative in engineering and entrepreneurial and building stuff and seeing it go through to market. And so we launched our own business when I was studying at university as well. Had some money from the Knowledge Exploitation Fund, and patented a piece of a jet engine. And that was great fun. And then I did a doctorate as well in with Tata in Port Talbot.
Yeah. And
we did a project with Porsche where we were looking at a new kind of, well, it's not new anymore, but a steel for the Porsche Cayenne chassis. And so, yeah, I've loved engineering. I've loved just being creative in it. And met my wife, who is Korean. We ended up living in South Korea, working in Seoul in the Seoul National University nuclear engineering department. So I went into nuclear power generation, and took me a while to figure out how that all works. But very similar skills, similar approaches to it, just different materials, different kind of context. And again, really enjoyed that. And then with 2011, end of 2011, the Lord made it clear to me that I needed a switch of direction, and had an opportunity to come back to Wales from Korea and leave paid employment and come into ministry context. Mm-hmm. And so I was roped into this sort of rescue of this old Welsh seminary that was based in Bridgend that really was struggling, and the Koreans had decided to step in and save that work and sort of relaunch it. And I was parachuted in, but I really saw the Lord's leading in it, really knew the Lord's guiding and urging to be part of that. And so I still feel like I'm engineering. I still feel like I'm building, and admin is part of that, organization and structure. So that's a little bit about me. I have got 3 kids, Aaron, Esther, and Adam, and so 2 boys and a girl. And that's fun. We're a bilingual or trilingual household, probably. Lots of languages, and lots of fun. We live in Porthcawl, and I work at the campus in Bridgend at Union, where we've got a nice sort of 8-acre site, which is beautiful to be at.
Mate, tremendous. Love that. Such an interesting journey to get to what you're doing now. I mean, it's fantastic. So, mate, I'm surprised. So you're based in Bridgend, and the church you're going to is Tom's church, isn't it?
Yes, Porthcawl, Grace Church Porthcawl, and we've been planted about, I think it's 15 years ago. It was planted by David Allerton.
Oh yeah.
So good old David Allerton, and who's gone home to glory.
Yeah.
And Tom sort of took it on when David became ill, and I think Tom was studying at the time with Union. And when I came back from Korea, we moved to Bridgend initially, and it was a joy to connect with Tom, and we just sort of found a home really, especially for our kids. And we ended up moving to Porthcawl then as well, which was great.
Yeah.
And moving into the area, finding a church, and just the importance of being in a local church and being in the community, and that's been a blessing. I lead a house group there as well, helping to lead worship with my wife, Harim, and serve the church in that way. So it's been a wonderful time for us to be in Porthcawl.
Right. Tremendous. It's a nice part of the world to be, isn't it? Porthcawl. Great.
It's
Love
not too shabby.
Particularly in the sunshine now. Oh, I bet you get this influx of people coming in, travelling in.
Yeah, we do. And since COVID, actually, we've really been growing crazy. So we've gone to 2 services on a Sunday morning, just to fit people in.
Yeah.
So that's been a interesting thing to see. But lots of people watching online and then deciding to turn up and actually come in person, which is good.
It's fascinating. I was chatting to another pastor the other day who was saying the same thing. There's just been this real influx of people coming, reassessing after COVID, engaged with some online material somewhere, and now here, wanting to be part of the church. And we're seeing sort of 30, 40 visitors a week come in. It's nuts.
Wow. Yeah, so online...
There's grace at work in that, isn't there? Yeah.
It's helpful. It's not all evil. Technology isn't evil in itself, but it can be used for good. Absolutely right. And mate, so today we're talking Union, and love to kind of promote it. I chat with Clive and chat with yourself, and we first came across each other, I guess, when we were putting on the Rebuild conference here, and some of our listeners might have kind of connected with that a little bit. And you guys, kindly sponsored the conference and giving money towards it and supporting pastors as they kind of re-engage and get back to serving congregations after COVID. And so grateful for our already initial partnership with Union. Mate, fill us in. Someone who's hearing this, what is Union? Tell us the details of what you guys are doing, because I know it's broad, but it's also you've got some specific areas that you're working into. Probably the best way to do this is just to tell you the story.
Do it.
Where we came from and why why we've kind of built what we've built. So I think when I came and sort of took on the work of turning the ministry around, of taking this traditional seminary that was residential, traditional model, and really asking the questions. Well, why are we doing this? Why is it here? What do we do? How do we serve the church? That was the big question: is how do we serve churches across the UK and across Europe? When I came from Korea, when the church that was involved, Sarang Church, with that initial investment to help stabilize the ministry and to build something on campus there, very much in their heart was a drive to serve Europe, to see European churches blessed and renewed and grow, plant churches to be fruitful. And so that was the kind of, as I felt my remit, not really to make the ministry successful and stable and survive. So I think that's the driver behind a lot of seminaries, a lot of parachurch ministries, is survival, and it becomes the driving force, the main thing of why you exist, why you're doing what you're doing, is to survive, and you make that the thing. And that's just not in my DNA, and it's not with Sarang, and not at Union now, actually, as well, as a result, because we're here to serve the church. Union can go, that's not the bride of Christ. The church is precious, and that's why we're here. And so I came very much with that motivation and that remit. And so what we've shaped, what we've built, has been born out of the intense desire and drive to really serve effectively and to do something strategic that was pan-European, that really made a difference, that could get alongside churches. So we started with training, obviously, with the school. Something that came out early was a model of decentralized learning, and so studying in the church context, not not bringing people out of the context to come and spend 3 years at a seminary campus in Wales near Porthcawl, lovely as it is.
Yeah.
We just didn't see that as a need. Pastors weren't saying, "Oh, we need to send people to you for 3 years."
Yeah.
They were saying, "How can we get training in our churches, in our local context, where we're keeping people in ministry?" And so that's how we came up with the learning community model. I think we started in Liverpool with the Gospel Partnership there, with the Northwest Gospel Partnership, and we just shaped it around what people told us. So it's basically market research.
Yeah.
What's the demand?
Yeah.
Let's supply supply the solution around the demand, around the need. And it was very simple. Tell us what you want, we'll try and do it.
Yeah.
And then we piloted that. It worked well. We got feedback. We improved it, and then we rolled it out to 3 other locations, and then it went to 7, and then now it's to 42, I think. And so that became a great indication to us that, okay, we've got something that's working. And so we've developed the other courses around decentralized learning, using online, flexible. We're still working on making it more flexible, more accessible. Yeah. But we're also bringing people to the campus where it's helpful, intensives, sabbaticals, whatever, but it's more fluid. We don't. That's not the driver to get people to the campus to serve us. It's serving the church out there. And then during COVID, there was things that we wanted to do that me and Mike Reeves talked about, who's the president of Union, when we were really dreaming up what does this look like, and things that we hadn't gotten to because we just didn't have time or money. During COVID, we actually had time to develop these sorts of things, and so we launched a publishing house for content, video, books. God brought us the partners we needed to get distribution, warehousing, shipping internationally. That's not print on demand. That's you're buying a lot of books and you're holding them and shipping them to different places. That was incredible. We launched Newton House in Oxford with a guy called Rob Trenkman, who came over from the US and who was funded to do that, and just launch a research community there that's sort of pastor theologians, academics, but working on high level PhD sort of level theology for the church. And the church planting stuff that we're doing as well. So that's Union Publishing, Newton House, and then Union Mission, which is kind of overlaying on the network of learning and theology, the learning communities. A lot of them are becoming church planting hubs, and we suddenly had this Korean church, people in, actually not even the church, but people in the church giving us money to support church planting, and we were like, hang on, we don't do this. Yeah. So we had to, and then they kept doing it. So okay, well, God's telling us something.
Opening up something here. Yeah.
So we just invented a kind of a grant making arm for the ministry and doing due diligence and inventing a process for that. And so we're just, in a sense, playing the role of a fiscal sponsor for donors in Korea, and now that's broadening out to the US as well. But just how those two things go together, the learning, the training, and then lots of them wanted to plant out, either the mentor has that vision to raise leaders up and then plant out around the city, or there's a group or network of churches, and that just works really well. And now we're trying to add more support, mentoring, coaching, along with money, and do more. And so it's still kind of evolving and growing. But the four parts are there, and we've got something called Reformation Fellowship as well, which is kind of like our alumni gathering, Friends of Union kind of thing, where you don't need to be part of Union to be part of it, Fellowship, and just come and stand with us around the gospel, and that's been a new thing as well. But it's kind of created an ecosystem where a lot of people access the content or the books or come to a conference or watch a video, and we have people saying to us, I've had a personal reformation, I've had a personal revival, and I need more, and then sort of find a calling to ministry and wanting to be trained up, and so they come to the school and then
access to courses from there.
right,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
maybe go on to plant a church, or
Yeah.
even establish their own learning community where they are. And so there's this sort of theological ecosystem that's missional, that really is helping churches grow and
Yeah.
multiply. And that's been really encouraging for me as like an engineer. I'm like, oh, right, we built something that works. That's cool. And it's quite satisfying. But the Lord's done it. I mean, even it's the intentionality was there, but it's in ways God surprised us,
Yeah.
by bringing things that we didn't expect, like
Yeah.
financially supporting church plants.
Yeah.
Seminaries don't do that.
Yeah.
But it's being open to what the Lord's doing, how the Spirit is leading, and what He's already doing and bringing in. And I think quite often we're blind to that because we've got our agenda and this is our priorities, and God's doing something over here, and we're like, no, that's not what we're doing. And it's like, okay, well, maybe the Lord wants you to steward that, what He's doing. And so that's been a great journey for us. But that's how we've ended up with Union as it is. So it's a kind of a ministry ecosystem that helps churches grow, a platform for for training, for theology, for content, for support, and relationship as well. I think it's not just. I remember talking to my pastor Tom about it, and he was saying, "Oh, we really want as pastors good theology, good content with a relationship, with fellowship, and a way to connect around that learning, that content." And so that's what we've been trying to foster as well. Is that, and that's quite hard to foster. It's not a product that you can just put out there. You're trying to foster relationship and fellowship and friendships, really. And because I think a lot of, especially again since COVID, pastors are lonely and isolated. And so that's what we're trying to see. And it's been so encouraging. We had a gathering at the campus recently with Reformation Fellowship, and great to see friendships being formed around that gathering.
I loved it. I came and attended and enjoyed it. Hearing Mike and Pete and who was your other speaker there?
Conrad Mbewi from
okay.
Africa.
And he did something on evangelism, and it was great, wasn't it? And it was great to be back in the room together with friends and just enjoying some good teaching, enjoying meal together. You guys open up the bookshop and allow pastors to get stuff. You're giving stuff away, and my impression of Union is this. You're very generous, and your heart to serve churches and guys in leadership is tremendous. And obviously there's lots of different pathways and lots of different ways that people can get involved. So if there's a sense of call, or a church wants to send someone for theological training, then there's avenues for that. So tell me a bit about these learning communities, because you were saying you've got, is it about 45 different ones? Or
42.
Okay. And they're across UK and Europe, I guess, and growing.
North America now as well.
Okay.
And Africa and India, and I think now this year, I think in Seoul as well. But it's like a little pop-up seminary. You just need a room and a mentor and Wi-Fi and a screen. And I think it's like a day a week that they gather together physically around that. But we've actually launched virtual learning communities as well this year, which is just giving a bit more flexibility. Some learning communities are blending that together even. So like I know in places like Rome, where you may have people quite spread out. I mean, it's in other parts of Italy. So they come together physically, but also in between they have online gatherings as well. So there's more flexibility, especially if people are further away. It's harder for them to gather physically. But we're all about gathering people in community and learning together. Because if we're training up pastors in their bedrooms, for themselves, it's just a little. I think it's not really a great model for training for ministry.
Not when you get into ministry, no.
And I think the mentors that we have, mostly pastors or teaching elders, anyway, and they have a passion to be part of the training, and that just works well where they're doing discipleship, life and life mentoring with them. It's not just delivery of the degree content. but they're actually seeing them on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are plugging what those learning communities are plugging into, like internships and apprenticeships in churches.
Churches,
they're getting, maybe it's a full week for some of the guys. Half of it's a degree course, the other half is practical work and ministry training, skills development. So that's been quite effective, I think, for a lot of churches.
Amazing. And so, there's obviously been this great gift of grace that you've been to. It was Presbyterian, you've stabilized it, you've not, now you've grown it hugely. I mean, you are the man behind the scenes that has enabled this to happen. Tell our listeners a little bit about what are you doing on a day-to-day basis now? Are you more admin and ops now, and management? Are you fundraising? What are some of the crucial things that you do day to day?
Yeah, I like to do different things. I don't like to do the same thing every day.
Okay.
I'm that kind of. I'm
You're
still
gonna get bored.
Creative, yeah. So it's been good just to travel more. Definitely more fundraising, supporting Mike, trying to stop Mike do stuff that he shouldn't be doing, and relieve him of things that suck the life out of him, basically. Because I want him playing to his strengths. Supporting him, whether it's administration or doing some the legwork with fundraising, whether it's trusts. A lot of the trust stuff we just do between myself. I've got a couple of ladies that help me write reports and applications and stuff. A lot of the fundraising with individual donors, it's very relational. But there's still a fair amount of legwork with that, and emailing and just chatting, and sometimes Mike needs to be part of that, sometimes he doesn't. So that there's that. We have two boards, one in the US, one in the UK, and I kind of run the boards as well. So the governance,
compliance, and all of that
secretary,
work.
And just organising, administration. A lot of the charity, we've just gone through redoing our charity articles. So it's a big piece of work that I headed up. The development, overseeing the development, I'm working on a strategic plan at the moment that is really satisfying. Actually, you're able to bring in your vision, vision cast with it, but also this year we're able to be more collaborative. In the past, I've kind of written a lot of that myself, but now we've got the team in place and the different leaders of the different bits where it can be more collaborative, and there's more accountability and more kind of there's more buy-in as well, I think, from more of the team in terms of the plan, where we're going, what we're doing. So that's been a great joy. Just a development strategy. There's always, the more and more as we go along and as the team grows, I'm doing a lot more pastoral care and management of people. Whether it's people on the board, whether it's people in work employed or volunteers. And I've just realised if I'm investing more into people, Union's getting more out of people. It's people are happier. It's more effective. As a team, and so doing more team building, more. And I think I'm more freed up these days, so less day-to-day administration and operations. I've got people to do that now. Whereas that's when I came, I was doing more of that. Now I'm able to do more strategic level and more kind of feeding into people, helping them, equipping them,
just mobilizing everything.
And it's been available as well. I think people know that they can come to you with a problem, or just to hang out and say how you doing, and
care for people and
what's going on. And that goes a long way. And again, I think if you're constantly under crisis, or if you're constantly under pressure and have to just get X, Y, and Z done all the time, you just don't have any capacity for that. Or any time for that, and you don't prioritize it, and you can go along for quite a while as a team like that, but sooner or later the wheels will start to come off. And so that's, yeah. And sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes you've got to do what you've got to do. But it's not a good place to be for too long. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. When I came, I was saying, that's not my gifting. I can't do that. Why are people coming to me? Go away. I've got so much to do. But now it's part of what I do. It's part of my work and my ministry, and I enjoy it. And yeah,
and you're seeing grace in it, which is great.
And my pastors encouraged me in it. And it's like, okay, no, I can do this.
Yeah,
God's grown me in that. And
yeah, it's good. Yeah. And for our listeners, when you were talking about kind of relieving Mike of certain aspects, part of our work, I guess, you've picked up on two great things there. One is, how do we kind of liberate our pastors and take things off them so they can do what they're doing well, and headspace and all of that, which is what they need. And then also that kind of people side of things, of kind of gathering, caring for people, mobilizing, getting people the information they need and the clarity that they need to do what they need to do, and how they fit in the organization. All of that stuff is what we're doing and what you're doing. And any encouragement for people in our roles, admin and ops in churches, what ways can you encourage them or kind of thank them?
Well,
it's a crucial ministry.
It's crucial, but quite often neglected and thought of, and appreciated, I think, as well. Again, because a lot of it is frontline mission or church planting or church growth, without, and so the mission always comes first, without thought of how to do it and how to resource it, and usually a lack of planning. And I think it's in churches, I think in the UK, it's a sort of, there's an approach that's, you shouldn't do it well. You shouldn't be worldly and have a plan, or have, how are we going to resource this to make it successful? Yeah. Which I think is just good stewardship. If God's given you a vision to do something, put it on your heart to maybe a new ministry or plant a church or whatever it is. It's going in, and it's realizing there's a battle, and there's opposition, and I think probably if you're not doing those things, you're probably not praying either. You just prioritizing you doing it. Usually it's the pastor or the guy that's leading the charge. Follow me, charge. And like no one's with him. So I think it's really important that the pastor or the leader can find those people around him, can realize the gifting and encourage it and disciple those people and use them. I often say to people, if I hadn't gone to Korea in my work, and if I hadn't gone to that church, I wouldn't be in Union. I probably wouldn't be in ministry. I don't know of many opportunities for someone like me in Wales to do what I'm doing and use my gifts like this. And so the opportunities are limited in Wales, especially in the churches, where there's no thinking of these sorts of roles. That it's not prioritized or even thought of. So I think the big one is for the leadership team, for the elders, for the pastors, to recognize and see the importance of it, and then to encourage people. I think, and if for people who are doing this, quite often we're conservative and we want to control stuff, and God keeps pushing the boat out. Did with me year after year, and I'm like, right, Lord, okay, this is a stretch, okay, and then you get there and you feel, okay, I can do this, and then he pushes the boat out again further and stretches you even more, and then you go, hang on, not again, can I just stay here? And the Lord keeps doing that, and it's growing our faith, growing our willingness to risk a little bit. Oh, dare I say that word, risk? Without being reckless, but stretching out. And I think I've seen that in my life and where He keeps pushing me, He keeps stretching me, and I'm growing into it, and I'm using my faith. And I think it's that willingness to step out and say, okay, if this is what the Lord's opening up for me and leading me into, let's step out and let's know that He's got me, and pray that through as well. Talk to your pastor, your leaders, and say, is this right? But by and large, I think we tend, administrators and owners tend to be more conservative and more controlling and lockdown and sort of rules. But I'm not promoting being reckless with stuff, but I think it's knowing who we are but it's being faithful, seeing through eyes of faith, and having a vision as well, and being willing to risk a little bit to do something and stretch out in faith. I think that's something I've learned.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I think we chatted earlier, didn't we, before the podcast, about connecting the practical work of ministry to the gospel and helping people to link. And so, we haven't got the ministry, leadership team here and the administration on the other side, but actually how do we see ourselves as being one team and different gifts that are able to flourish to help the church grow. And I think, if you're serving in admin and ops, and, be encouraged and feel that sense of God smiling over you, that you are contributing here to the gospel, whether you're involved in a voluntary way, coming in the church building, cleaning it, setting it up ready for Sunday, or whether you're a paid management, administrator who's dealing with finance and governance and all these different things. That there are so many different aspects of work that happens behind the scenes, and they are all crucial for the gospel to go forward, and that's great. One other thing, if you're a treasurer listening to this, or you're involved in finance, then let me encourage you to portion some of your budget into training. I think sometimes our leaders can be reluctant to ask for training, can be reluctant to that kind of professional development, if you like, in the world. Say, actually, how can we hone their skills? How can we make them better? Set aside some money in your budget. I love it when administrators go to their leaders and say, what could we do to serve you in the area of training and finance? Have that conversation and connect into Union and other places. There are places where they can go, and access courses and content that can, sharpen them to do the work of ministry that ultimately serves the gospel. So have that as a thought, as a takeaway from today. So, mate, thanks for coming on and sharing the story of Union, and people can connect through the website particularly. And if you've got any,
thank you, thanks for having me.
Oh, mate, it's great to have you. And if you've got any questions or further things you want to follow up with, then please get in contact at questions@thechurchoffice.co.uk. We'd love to kind of connect with you, and I'll pass them on to Joel. We can sit and talk, and we've been chatting about how can the church office serve pastors who are going into roles who not got experience in admin and ops. What can we do to equip them? And we'd love to see that. So, mate, thank you for your time. And please check out the church office website for up-to-date resources. There's always new podcasts and videos and documents that you can download free of charge. And we want to support the church and grow the ministry and see people saved with the glorious news of Jesus. So please use our site and wherever you can. All right, thanks for listening. We'll see you on the podcast next time.